Ike is a powerful magician who serves as a commander in the Demon Lord's army. With his skill and power, he has become an invaluable member of the demon army, but there's just one problem: he is secretly a human. During a war, the orc troops are able to break through the walls of a castle thanks to some well-placed explosions near the base of the wall which Ike provided them with, and as all this is going on, he is watching from above along with the orc leader, who is greatly pleased with the results of his troops' invasion after following the advice of Ike. However, Ike isn't surprised by the outcome at all, since victory was all but assured once he was assigned to oversee this operation. Inside the castle grounds, the humans and demons are locked in deadly combat, but the demons are much better equipped to win with their innate strength, so the human soldiers are being slaughtered. And while all this is going on, the Knight Captain is up in the castle, watching his men die one by one from the safety of a castle window and probably regretting the day he chose to sign up as a knight. Just then, he realizes he is not alone in the room, so he turns around and finds that Ike has somehow managed to sneak in. The Knight Captain knows he is pretty much screwed now, so he turns to face Ike and asks who he is. Ike introduces himself as the commander of the Demon Lord's 7th Undead Brigade, and he tells the Knight Commander he only has a few options left. His soldiers are nearly all dead, so Ike tells him he likes this territory and he wants it, so we can do this the easy way or the hard way. The choice is yours. The Knight Captain ain't going out like a wuss, so he tells Ike that none of those options work for him as he lunges forward for a desperate attack. But Ike wasn't surprised by this at all, since he already expected to have to do it the hard way. He quickly casts a point-blank spell which strikes the Knight Captain and incapacitates him. Ike has officially won this war, but when the orc leader comes into the room to congratulate him on his victory, and while the normal thing to do for a demon commander at this point would be to execute all the surviving members of the army, but Ike has other plans as he instructs the orc leader to provide first aid for the Knight Commander as well as any humans that surrendered. Ike was being watched by a witch through her crystal ball, and she is surprised that he was able to take down Castle Arsam with just a single brigade and a week of prep time, so she's interested in the potential Ike shows. Back at the castle, Ike creates a barrier around himself so he can avoid being watched further, and once he finally has some privacy, he thinks to himself that he feels guilty about hurting so many people, even if it was necessary to win the battle. He will never truly get used to the bloodshed associated with war, because while it should be second nature to a demon, Ike is only a human in disguise. His teacher, Romber, was a great mage, but he also knew a lot about the world and the advanced civilization that once lived in it. One day, Romber found Ike as a baby and decided to take him in just for fun, and over the course of the years Ike spent with Romber, he was taught all the magic and knowledge Romber had at his disposal. But Romber's last wish before he died of old age was that Ike should never tell anyone about the ancient civilization, since people would bring disaster if they knew about it. There was also one other thing Romber had asked of him. It was for Ike to never let himself be seen without his robe or mask, because if he is ever found out to be a human, the Demon Lord wouldn't spare him. From that day forward, Ike has never taken off his mask, and even now, he is only able to remove it because of the powerful barrier he erected around the room. With the barrier up, it prevents anyone from entering the room without his permission, but unfortunately, it doesn't apply to people who are already inside the room. Ike looks down and sees the maid who had been hiding under the desk, and she begs him not to kill her since she won't speak a word to anyone about his secret, but then she accidentally hits her head on the desk and falls over. Ike checks on her and she seems to still be alive, but he really wishes she wasn't, since he had managed to keep his identity secret for over 20 years at this point. So why does the first person to find out his secret have to be a clumsy maid? Just then, the orc leader knocks at the door because he wants to talk to Ike, so he will have to deal with the maid problem later. Outside, the orc leader tells Ike that they have managed to seize the castle successfully, but he finds it strange that Ike is letting so many humans live. Ike tells him it isn't a problem, since the new Demon Lord doesn't particularly care about your kill count as long as you get the job done. The orc understands, but he and the others were hoping to slaughter all the humans and burn the village to the ground, but Ike questions what the purpose of doing that would be, especially since if they kill everyone, then there will be no one left to pay taxes. Arsam is a trading city, so who would do all the trading if they killed all the humans? Just then, Ike and the orc run into a couple of humans who wish to speak to Ike. The orc begins yelling at them for daring to speak to the great Ike directly, but Ike says it is fine and asks the village chief to speak. The chief has accepted that the town is now under the control of the demon army, so he wants to know how much they are expecting to pay in taxes to the demon lord. Ike tells him they can just pay the normal amount they always paid, but he makes it clear that if any of them ever resist the demon lord for any reason, then there would be no mercy for them. Just then, Ike notices something is wrong, and a moment later, he gets teleported into a dark room with a giant monster standing behind him with devious intentions. Ike jumps out of the way to evade the incoming backshots, and it looks like this isn't the first time something like this has happened since Ike complains to the witch that he had asked her not to summon him out of nowhere like this. Since he is already here, Ike decides to take out the monster by using his staff to cast a powerful spell, and he destroys the golem in a single hit. The witch is impressed with Ike's ability since she was pretty confident in the strength of that golem, and we finally find out that her name is Sapphiro. She is Ike's direct superior in the demon army, and also the only demon who knows that he is actually a human. Ike asks her to please just send a messenger next time she wants to talk to him, but she finds it entertaining to catch him off guard with teleportation. Ike just accepts that he's going to have to keep dealing with Sapphiro's BS, so he asks her if she summoned him here because of the battle with Arsam. She tells him that's not why she called him here, since her familiars couldn't have told her everything she needed to know about the battle. She is perfectly fine with how Ike took control of the city and how he chose to spare the humans, but then Ike wonders why she bothered summoning him at all, so Sapphiro informs him that Demon Lord Daracuten wishes to see him in person. Ike is shocked to hear this, since he would be the first brigade commander to ever be given the honor of meeting him, but Ike still wonders why Daracuten would want to see him. Sapphiro assumes it must be because of Ike's impressive feat of capturing Arsam in only 1 week, so she's going to take him to the Demon Lord's castle now. Ike wasn't expecting to have to go immediately, but he puts his hand on Sapphiro's shoulder and she teleports them both away. Meanwhile, back in the castle, the maid has finally regained consciousness. She gets up and tries to walk away, but as she does so, she finds that she is still trapped inside Ike's barrier. She knows there's no way she's getting through a barrier like this, so she looks around the room and finds a plate of food along with a note left by Ike. He wrote for her to eat the food and wait for him to return, so the maid does exactly that, and it's so delicious that she ends up pouncing on the plate. At the same time, Ike and Sapphiro have just arrived at the Demon Lord's castle, and the strong miasma surrounding the castle is slightly affecting Ike since he is human, but he powers through it and keeps walking towards the castle. At the gate, there are guards posted, so Ike asks Sapphiro if the guards check everyone who comes to the castle, and she informs him that they indeed inspect everyone who comes here. Ike is now worried since his identity will be found out as soon as the guard makes him remove his mask, but Sapphiro tells him she will handle it. She uses some of her magic to surround Ike in a terrifying aura, and once he reaches the guards, they have nothing but respect for his power. They know Ike is the grandson of Romberg. And with training from such a great mage, it is no wonder to them that Ike is so powerful. Ike and Sapphiro are allowed entry into the castle with no further questions, and after a while of walking, Ike asks how long it's going to take before they reach the audience room. So she tells him they are almost there, but Ike is really wishing he could fly like Sapphiro in a situation like this. He has always been jealous of her flight magic, and while he can use the spell itself, he doesn't have as much control over it as she does, so the most he can do is jump really high with it. They eventually reach the audience room, so Sapphiro tells Ike to wait outside a little while she talks to the Demon Lord first. Once she heads inside, Ike thinks about how the current Demon Lord, Daracuten, managed to turn the war around and give the demons the upper hand simply by participating in a single battle. He is the strongest demon, and rumors speak of him as a cruel and cold lord, so he would probably kill anyone whom he grew to dislike. On the flip side, though, he is also known to be one who can recognize talent in spite of whatever weaknesses one may have. His new approach to running things revolutionized the demon army, since demons are naturally born with the instinct to fight among themselves at the slightest inconvenience. Daracuten, who accomplished all of that in his time as the Demon Lord, and now Ike has to meet him. Ike hears Sapphiro calling for him to enter, so he walks into the throne room, and as he greets the Demon Lord, he is surprised to find that the Demon Lord is actually a girl. Daracuten praises Ike for his ability to capture Arsam in only 1 week, and he thanks her for the kind words, but he doesn't think he deserves that much credit. The Daracuten finds Ike's humility quite odd as it reminds her of how a human would act, and Ike immediately regrets opening his mouth since he almost blew his cover just now. Luckily, Sapphiro recovers for him and explains that Ike was raised by the great magician Romberg, and Romberg was known to be quite humble, so that would explain where Ike learned humility from. She also thinks that Ike might be smarter than she had initially thought and thus chose to avoid needlessly killing the humans even after he conquered Arsam. But right now, Ike is kind of regretting the fact that he didn't kill those humans like a regular demon would, since it is drawing unwanted attention to him now. He asks for permission to speak and explains to Darrow that he spared the humans because while they may fear terror, they won't obey it for long, so he felt it would be better to avoid killing them as much as possible so they can keep their sense of normalcy and remain productive. Darrow asks if that is the opinion Romberg held as well, and Ike says yes. He has only been speaking with her for a few minutes now, but he can already tell that Darrow must have knowledge about the ancient civilizations that Romberg told Ike about, and she used that knowledge to form the demon army into what it is today. Darrow teleports from her throne and lands in front of Ike, saying that he is definitely different from most demons, but the next time they meet, she would like to see what his face looks like under that mask. She then teleports behind him and says she expects to see more good results from him in the future, and as soon as she is out of the room, Ike collapses out of nervousness. Sapphiro makes fun of him for being so nervous in front of Darrow, but while maybe a strong magician, he is still a wimp. What had him so nervous was the fact that Darrow could tell that the mask wasn't his real face, but at least she doesn't know that he's a human yet. Sapphiro also mentions that he is getting a reward from Darrow for his accomplishments, although she wouldn't exactly classify it as a reward. A while later, Ike teleports back to Arsam to check on the maid, and he sees that she has eaten all the food he left for her. So he looks around and finds her sleeping behind the desk. He wakes her up, and as soon as she realizes that Ike is back, she begins begging for her life and asking Ike not to hurt her. Ike tells her to calm down since he doesn't plan on killing her, but first, he wants to know what her name is. She tells him she is called 13 since slaves here are only referred to by their numbers, but her mother used to call her Sadie. Ike tells Sadie that he can't just let her go now that she knows he is human, but she promises that she will never speak a word about his real identity to anyone. Ike believes she will keep her mouth shut, but to make sure she doesn't let the secret slip, he tells her that she has to serve as his maid from now on. Sadie is more than happy to be his maid if it means she gets to live, so it's a done deal. The next day, Ike is officially crowned ruler of a place called Avelia's, and the previous day, Sapphiro had informed him that this was the reward Darrow had prepared for him. It's a town on the front lines, so Ike's job will be to rebuild the town and bring in double its tax revenue. Ike doesn't like it, especially since Sapphiro was the one that conquered the town and she absolutely decimated all the walls, leaving it with no protection. Since they are out on the front lines, they need to have city walls ready in case the human army attacks, but when Ike asks Jiren how long it will take to rebuild, he says it'll be 6 months at best. 6 months is way too much time for a city to go without a wall, but with only human laborers, there is no way they'll be able to do it any quicker than that. However, Ike believes he has a way to get it down in only 1 month, and that is to use both demon and human laborers. Jiren has never seen humans and demons working together like this, and Ike even came up with the idea to have shifts of only 8 hours, so the wall repairs can keep going 24 hours around the clock, and he also pays the laborers a decent wage to keep their morale up. So Jiren is convinced that Ike is the demon army's greatest asset, and he is bound to eventually become the next demon lord. This was the end of episode 1. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to not miss the next part.